Arsenal 0, PSG 1. That was allegedly a Champions League semi-final. That was allegedly our second semi-final, or our third semi-final, I should say, in our history. And if I'm being real, that game felt like a pre-season friendly. We were dominated from start to finish. Let's be real. We did not put barely a threat on PSG at all. And the little times we did, it was not good enough. But like, sub, and share the content around, do whatever you got to do to help the channel grow. And where do we start? I'm going to start with the team lineup, because when Thomas Partey got suspended against Madrid, that was probably the biggest question, which, yeah, I'm going to say it now. Thomas Partey is an idiot for doing that. However, Arteta had a whole week, well, not even a whole week, a whole couple weeks to assess what his options are, and he decided to go with a Rice, Marino and Ødegaard midfield, which eventually turned out to be a one-man midfield with Declan Rice in it, doing everything he could. And let's be real, Declan Rice was not great. However, it got to a point where he was doing too much. It was making his performance look worse. He was trying too much, and to be fair, he was probably the best of a bad bunch. I'm not saying he was great. I still rate him about 4 or 5 out of 10, but compared to everyone else out there, and compared to most of them out there, he was not great at all. But like I said, that midfield, Ødegaard, I'm saying it from now, he needs to be stripped of the captaincy or sold. Either one, I don't care, because this guy is meant to be our club captain. He's meant to be our creative spark as well. However, this guy for a long time now, since he's come to Arsenal, has proved that he can't hack big games. And when you got a captain who's as much of a pussy as he is, what chance have you got, really? Even against Madrid in both legs, he was ghosting. We were basically playing with 10 men. Difference is we had Thomas Partey playing in the midfield, so it wasn't as bad. However, we had Mikel Merino, who has had literally an identical situation to Kai Havertz. Brought him as a midfielder, not good enough, put him up front, does all right. And yeah, we've got limited numbers when it comes to that. However, what stopped him from either starting Skelly in midfield, which I weren't really for, or starting Zinchenko in midfield, having a Rice, Zinchenko, Ødegaard midfield, or a Rice, Zinchenko and Ethan midfield. Try something different. We've seen... I'm going to use one example, right? And obviously we were chasing the game for pretty much all of it. If Ruben Amorim can go right, I've not got many good players at Manchester United. I've got some good players, but I haven't got many good players. And the ones that are good were at the time injured. Instead of saying, all right, I'll make a like-for-like change, as in putting on Ben White and taking off Jurriën Timber, you know what? Ben White, go up front. And literally what Amorim done, and I'm not comparing Arteta to Amorim, because let's be real, they both had dreadful seasons. However, they're still both in European semi-finals. Amorim put Maguire up front in games and tried something different. What is stopping Mikel Arteta from going, right, what I'm doing isn't working, we're getting dominated, we should be 3-0 down at least, maybe even 4-0 down. Let me do something different. Let me put an aerial threat in the box, because we were crossing the ball into the box the whole time. With number 1, a 6'5" Donnarumma, and number 2, a 5'7", around my height, Leandro Trossard up front. Yes, if you have Mikel Merino there, hear it. However, we're putting in deep crosses into the 60-yard box when you have a goalkeeper the size of him. And also, one thing with that goalkeeper, yeah, he made a mad save from Trossard. Also, say Martinelli's shot, but they both should have scored, to be honest. Why we're not shooting, as much as this guy makes some good saves, he is susceptible to making a mistake. We've seen that throughout his career since he left AC Milan. Have a shot, do something, do like anything, because the amount of times we had the ball on the edge of their box and we weren't penetrating them at pause at all, which is baffling. And the fact that Arteta left it so late to make a sub, that he takes off Ødegaard in the 80-something minute and brings on Ethan. I mean, what the fuck is Ethan meant to do in that time, honestly? And then, like I said, the like-for-like change was... I think it looks like it was needed, because it looks like Timber did have an injury. But to be fair, Timber, that is probably the worst I've seen him play in an Arsenal shirt. Down to him being tired, maybe, but I'm not going to use that as an excuse because, look, he's been up there as to my player of the season for this season, him and Thomas Partey. And if you want to include Lewis Skelly in there, sure. You can tell he was rattled that game, and the whole team were rattled, really, because Kvaratskhelia, Dembele, we're running rings around our midfield and our attack. The amount of times that Dembele was able to drop into that little pocket, spray the ball out wide, there was no one. We weren't aggressive enough in getting back either, and the amount of times that saw their midfielders and attackers just on the edge of our box, unmarked. And we'll talk about the goal, actually. That goal, Rice and Marino, I think, got to do better because Kvaratskhelia gets the pass off to the Dembele. As a player as dangerous as him, you should, someone should have kept up with him. And whether that was Erdegaard, Rice, Marino, or anyone, the amount of space that he had free and to just have the shot. And look, I don't even know what foot Dembele is because he's good with both feet. However, if that was his weak foot, then serious questions have got to be asked because the fact we allowed him to even get that shot off in the first place. And then since that point, we were just rattled. We were void of ideas. Like I said, it took Bukayo Saka towards the end of the first half to actually have a go out of position, go into the midfield and do something because our creative spark captain wasn't doing anything. And to be fair, even he seemed rattled as well because when we got given that foul against us, which weren't a foul, but doesn't matter because we should have done enough in 90 minutes to actually get a result. He gets booked and then he weren't great at all for the rest of the game. On the goal that we got disallowed, is there any coincidence, to be fair, that Odegaard was taking free kicks up until then? The one chance Declan Rice gets to put a free kick in, Marino scores. Yeah, it was offside. To be fair, it did look offside, and you could tell by the way he celebrated. Like the fact it's a Champions League semi-final, you just equalise when you've been playing like crap, and I think he could tell in his head that he's probably offside. Overall, a dead game. The best players were probably Saka in the first half, Declan Rice, Saliba, and David Raya. And even then, when I say that they're our best players, 5 and 5s and 4s if I was to do player ratings. But yeah, it's not good enough at all. And look, I'm not a match-going fan. I generally can't be asked to go to matches because of how expensive it is. However, that atmosphere in the stadium, inside the stadium, I mean, because apparently outside the stadium it was actually rocking. That did not feel like a semi-final in that stadium at all when I was watching it. That tifo, that tifo that they had across the North Bank, I believe it was, looks like a fucking shower curtain. That is literally something you would sell on FIFA. Like when you press quick sell, when you pack some random tifo on there. That is the type of shit you put on your quick sell and never see again. And apparently the club banned the Ashburton Army from having like a tifo display, which if that's the case, then the club have got to look at themselves as well. And we now need to go to Paris, a goal down. Yeah, Partey's going to be back, but we've got to overturn. We've got a number one score, and in my opinion, PSG will score. So we've got to score at least 2 to take it to extra time, which I genuinely don't see us doing. I can hope that we can do it 100% because as bad as we were and as much of a worse scoreline we should have ended that game with, it is still 1-0. It is still salvageable. However, I've seen enough over the years that this team has not got a bottle to really dig deep when it matters. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Like, sub, share, do whatever you got to do to help the channel grow, and I'll see you lot in my next video. And look out for the shorts and stuff on the page as well. I'll see you in a bit.